What's up, Tucson? How the hell are ya? You're watching Creative Tucson, Channel 20, and this is the 5 on 20 News, coming to you live from our studios in downtown Tucson. It's Wednesday, September 27th. Let's dive right in with some juicy local headlines. University of Arizona assistant basketball coach Emmanuel Richardson was charged with using bribes to influence star athletes' choice of schools and other financial matters. Richardson was charged along with 10 other basketball coaches who were all accused by the Justice Department of using bribes. In addition to school choice, the coaches allegedly sought to influence players' choice regarding shoe sponsorships, agents, financial advisors, and even tailors. The U of A said in a press release that they, quote, were made aware of the Department of Justice's investigation this morning, and we are cooperating fully with the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. The 4 identified coaches, along with Richardson, were Chuck Pearson of Auburn University, Tony Bland of the University of Southern California, and Lamont Evans of Oklahoma State. According to the FBI, Richardson received $5,000 on June 20th of this year while he was in Manhattan, and another $15,000 a month later when he was in New Jersey. Some of the money allegedly went to players and their families, while some money went to coaches to use their sway over potential NBA players. Prosecutors say that the coaches took bribes to use their, quote, enormous influence to steer players towards certain financial advisors and agents. In another case, Adidas representative James Gatto was arrested for giving money to high school players and their families in return for wearing Adidas gear. Since 2015, the FBI has been investigating the influence of money on coaches and players in the NCAA. In response to the charges, the University of Arizona postponed its basketball media day, which was scheduled for today and supposed to climax with the ill-timed Adidas shuffle. Hey. Arizona was ranked dead last for elementary teacher pay and 49th for secondary teacher pay, according to a recent study by the education advocacy group Expect More Arizona. A separate study by the website Wallet Hub also found that Arizona was ranked as the worst state in the country for teachers. Elementary school teachers in the state get paid an average annual salary of about $42,000, more than $13,000 less than the national average. The pay for secondary school teachers in Arizona is almost $48,000, still more than $10,000 short of the national average. The study from Expect More Arizona found that the state would need to commit $1 billion in additional funding just to get the state's teacher pay up to the national average. Aaron Hart, one of the study's authors, said that the state could choose to expand Prop 301, a voter-approved referendum that will expire in 2020. The lack of funding has caused a massive teacher shortage in the state, with more teachers leaving the profession than coming into it each year. In April, the State House passed a bill that would make it easier to become a teacher, but it barely made a dent in the teacher shortage. In the Wallet Hub study, Arizona was ranked 48th in per-student spending in public schools and 49th in pupil-teacher ratio. That study found that the state was 44th in teacher pay. The study pointed out the inefficiencies of education spending in Arizona, such as the fact that school principals have salaries double the amount of the teachers. Arizona, the only state where teachers and students work side by side at McDonald's after school. Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton announced yesterday that he would donate $10,000 from campaign funds to pay for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival, or DACA, renewal applications. In a statement, Stanton said, quote, Donald Trump's unfortunate, spiteful decision to end the DACA program has put dreamers here in Phoenix in a terrible position. The donation will cover the $495 application fee for DACA-eligible people. Stanton said, quote, it is the least I can do in my position as mayor. The Trump administration announced last month that it would be ending the program, leaving 6 months for Congress to come up with a solution. In the meantime, DACA recipients can renew their applications, but they must submit their paperwork by October 5th. In order to make it in time, applicants should mail their packets by October 2nd, according to Living United for Change in Arizona. A recent study from Pew Research found that Arizona is home to 4% of all DACA recipients nationwide, with about 25,000 immigrants covered under the program. Arizona is the 6th highest state in the nation for DACA recipients, with California, Texas, Illinois, New York, and Florida ranking higher. According to the research, the state of Wyoming just found out about DACA last week, then went back to doing whatever people in Wyoming do. I don't know. The National Institutes of Health awarded the University of Arizona a $4.8 million grant to speed up work on a valley fever vaccine for dogs. Researchers eventually want to create a vaccine for humans, but say it's much more difficult to gain FDA approval for humans, so they would start with dogs. Valley fever is a potentially deadly respiratory disease affecting dogs and humans, particularly in the Southwest. 2/3 of people who have valley fever don't actually see any symptoms of the disease, but the remaining third experience infections that attack the lungs and sometimes enter the bloodstream. Valley fever kills about 150 people per year and affects dogs about 3 times as much. In 2015, there were about 7,600 valley fever cases in Arizona. The disease comes from a fungus that grows in the dirt of certain regions, most commonly in the Sonoran Desert. While researchers are seeking a vaccine for dogs, they hope to eventually find a vaccine for humans down the line. With the grant, researchers at the Valley Fever Center for Excellence hope that they can perfect the vaccine and put it on the market within the next few years.
Oh, yes.
Currently, researchers have used the vaccine on mice and found that they survived lethal doses of infection compared to mice who weren't vaccinated. John Galgiani, director at the center, said that the mice given the vaccine didn't die and didn't look sick at all after being injected with the virus. Next, researchers hope to be able to move on to dogs and eventually humans. This will inevitably lead to a comical scenario where dog and human DNA are accidentally mixed, creating a creature that's equal parts cute and frightening. Now in national and international news. Former state Supreme Court Justice and conservative icon Roy Moore won a GOP Senate runoff in a landslide against challenger Luther Strange. The race was being watched closely because the president put his support behind Strange, who was more of an establishment figure compared to Moore. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell also supported Strange, with his super PAC donating about $9 million to the Strange campaign. However, quickly following his win, both Trump and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell pledged their support for Moore. His win also represented a symbolic victory for Steve Bannon and anti-establishment conservatives who broke rank with Trump to throw their support behind Moore. Bannon held a rally for Moore on Monday evening where he argued that he and others were backing Moore so that Trump would have an ally in Washington. As state Supreme Court Justice, Moore is perhaps best known for erecting a monument to the 10 Commandments outside the Alabama State House. Critics claim that the display violated church-state separation and sued to have it removed. Moore was later removed from his justice position because he refused to take the display down. He was re-elected again in 2012, but was suspended once again when he directed judges in the state to ignore the U.S. Supreme Court's 2015 decision to legalize gay marriage. This only emboldened Moore as he became a hero to religious conservatives in his state and across the country. He will now face off in November against Democratic nominee Doug Jones, a former U.S. attorney who successfully prosecuted those responsible for the 1963 Birmingham church bombing. An anti-racist lawyer versus a law-breaking Bible thumper. I wonder which way Alabama will go. Saudi Arabia says it will end the ban on women drivers and allow them to get driver's licenses. Saudi Arabia's King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud made the announcement on Tuesday, saying that he weighed the negative and positive points of ending the ban while also making sure that the rule change was in line with Islamic law. The Saudi press agency said the decision was supported by a majority of the Council of Senior Scholars, Saudi Arabia's highest religious body. The new regulations will be implemented by June, and a committee will be set up to study how to enforce the regulations. This will include developing the infrastructure and institutional capacity, such as expanded licensing facilities and driver education programs, according to a statement from the country's embassy in Washington, D.C. Before the ruling, Saudi Arabia was the only country that banned women from driving, which was supported by conservative clerics. Challenges to the ban began around 1990 when 47 women made the first attempt to challenge the law. All of the women lost their jobs, were prohibited from traveling for years, and were shunned for their defiance. While the news is positive, women are still treated as legal minors in the country and are prohibited from government business, traveling abroad, marrying, pursuing higher education, and undergoing medical procedures without permission from men. Saudi Arabia's press did not detail if men will need to sign off on women getting their driver's license or taking individual car trips. But the Saudi ambassador said that women won't need that type of permission. 80% of Puerto Rico's electricity lines are damaged, while 44% of the territory lacks clean water, according to a Pentagon report. According to the report, the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority said that 100% of its distribution system is damaged, preventing electricity from being transmitted to homes and businesses. Only 11 of the island's 69 hospitals have fuel or power, while 3.5 million Puerto Ricans are still without clean drinking water. In the U.S. Virgin Islands, which was also devastated by Hurricane Maria, power had been restored to a key water production plant. The Defense Department said that it expected 240 aircraft to arrive in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands over the next 24 hours. FEMA is also shipping up to 350 satellite telephones to the islands to assist officials on the ground. Puerto Rican officials have urged the federal government to speed up its relief efforts, with Governor Ricardo Rosselló saying, quote, "We need Congress to take action so we can have an aid package that is real for the American citizens that live in Puerto Rico and that is flexible so we can take immediate action." Donald Trump was criticized for tweets where he highlighted the country's debt problems. And yesterday, Trump appeared alongside Spain's prime minister to defend his administration's response to the disaster. He said, quote, "Right now, we have our top people from FEMA, and they have been there. We are unloading on an hourly basis, massive loads of water and food and supplies for Puerto Rico." What an erudite man. But officials in Puerto Rico aren't exactly seeing the impact. Here's San Juan Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz delivering a heartfelt interview with CBS.
2 people died yesterday because there was no diesel in the place that they were at.
Where did this happen?
In San Juan.
But where was it?
Hospital.
They died in the hospital because there wasn't diesel?
There's no diesel, there's no life support system. And I don't know how else to scream and shout and you know, say it. This is the time for action. Let's not talk about the debt. The freaking debt. Let's talk about the deaths that will not happen if things do not get into people's hands now.
A difficult plea from a storm-ravaged country. The Department of Homeland Security is now collecting social media information on all immigrants, including permanent residents and naturalized citizens. A new rule published in the Federal Register last week calls for the collection of social media handles and aliases and associated identifiable information and search results in the department's immigrant files. According to the Federal Register, the policy will begin on October 18th. The new rule could also impact those who communicate with immigrants on social media, meaning everyone, because their conversations would be subject to government surveillance. Wow. In May, the Trump administration began issuing a new questionnaire for visa applicants that requires social media handles for the past 5 years, along with biographical information going back 15 years. But the rule would be the most sweeping collection of data from immigrants since it impacts those who have already obtained a green card or gone through the naturalization process. Critics say that the rule would widen the amount of government snooping in the name of fighting terrorism. Faiz Shakir, national political director at the ACLU, said that the rule, quote, would undoubtedly have a chilling effect on the free speech that's expressed every day on social media. Administration officials denied the charges and said if you have anything to hide, then you shouldn't be talking to immigrants on social media anyway. This was 5 on 20 News with Luc Goodhart. Don't forget to like and share all of our social media outlets, and feel free to bother us at info@creativetucson.org. Thanks for watching, and stay creative, Tucson.